What's a job that pays extremely well but no one realizes it? A niche, but if you grow flowers for florists, you can make bank. It's my first year, but we sold a bunch of zinnias on demand into florists this year, along with a few thousand specialty sunflowers. The sunflowers are pretty much hands off once they are planted with drip line. They shelter out weeds pretty fast. We're selling them to florists at $1.50 per stem and have made a few thousand only a few weeks into the blooms. The rest are all spoken for before they have even bloomed, and we're set to pull in about $30,000 in flower sales this year, and it was just a test year. Our local competitors, who we all compete with next year, make a few $100,000 a year via florist sales, direct sales, and U-Pick. Okay, hold on. That's wild. Like, I would have never guessed flowers could be such a solid moneymaker. Story 2. A lot of these threads are about how plumbers and welders and linemen and machine operators make great money, and they do, but I am going to throw a little contrast in there. I'm a dental service technician, essentially a mechanic for dentists. You need to be personable. You need to be able to work independently. You need to have basic mechanical proficiency, no other requirements. Henry Schein will hire an utterly green tech, give them basic training, $45,000, and that person will now have a 40-hour-a-week job working in clean, kind of, indoor environments with good benefits and an annual 3% raise. After 3 years, they can jump to Benco or Midwest for a 10% raise and be sitting anywhere between $55,000 to $60,000, then do it again in a few years. After the third jump or so, you'll be sitting between $80,000 and $100,000 again for mostly easy indoor work. Plumbers with my time in their field will be making more money than I do, but they're also working harder, and this is a huge point. You don't actually have to be good at being a dental service tech. It helps, but over the years I've had dozens of examples of coworkers proving that competence is not a requirement. Story 3. I'm a firefighter in a mid-sized city. We start around $64K a year, but get a bump at 3 years and then 5 years. Once you hit your 5-year mark, you're making $96,000 a year, union benefits, amazing healthcare, pension, and about a month and a half vacation time with how our schedule works. If you like doing overtime, you can easily make over $120,000. Some overtime studs make up to $170,000 a year. I don't do that because you'd basically have to live at work. And on top of it all, I'm sitting on a couch watching TV 90% of the time, and people actually like you, unlike being cops. Pretty great gig if you can get hired. Oh, and without overtime, I only work 2 24-hour shifts a week, so I have a lot of free time if I choose to stay home. Story 4. So this is more per hour than gross, but still every piano tuner I've heard or spoken with has discussed how good the work-life balance is, how if they need more money, they just accept more jobs, how they're beating away jobs with a stick because there just aren't enough hours in the day. A first-year tuner makes around $150 an hour, $40,000 a year on average in an average COL area, and goes up to $80,000 a year as you wrangle your own regulars or go to higher COL areas. Every time you look up a piano tuner, they're talking about how badly needed they are. There was a post a while back about an orchestra literally offering scholarships to people wanting to become tuners because there just wasn't enough availability in the area. You'd think that there wouldn't be that many people who want their pianos tuned, but even if you leave out the lackadaisical hobbyist who quote-unquote forgets for 15 years, churches, schools, music professionals, concert halls, theaters, airports, hotels, and nursing homes all often have pianos that require tuning. Story 5. Biomedical equipment technician. Fixing medical equipment in hospitals typically only requires a 2-year degree. I started slightly above $30 an hour and now make over $40 an hour working on radiology equipment. Kind of like IT, but only with a relatively small part of the job being computers. There's a 2-year degree specific for the industry, but with the manpower shortage, it's not a requirement. I know a lot of people who've moved into this field with a regular 2-year technical degree of some kind. If you grew up taking stuff apart and figuring out how it works, then this is a perfect job to continue that kind of skill set. Like many other trades, not a lot of people know about it, so there's good job security, lots of people retiring out, and not a lot of other people coming in. You need to be comfortable working around patients at times or working in the OR, and that can make it stressful at times. The money is pretty good for a job that mostly has you inside the air conditioning working normal business hours, except for on-call. Story 6. Honestly, people think high paying equals doctor, lawyer, tech bro, but the real money is hiding in jobs nobody talks about. Ditch diggers, linemen, plumbers, elevator techs, garbage collectors, they're all quietly making $150,000, $250,000 because nobody wants to do dirty, risky work. Infrastructure emergencies don't wait for business hours. Overtime stacks up fast when pipes burst at 3 a.m. My buddy is an elevator mechanic with a high school diploma, cleared $190,000 last year. Another friend fixed gas leaks, making $160,000 being on call. Lineman neighbor, $240,000 after working hurricane repairs. Here's the thing, these jobs are recession-proof. People always need power, water, and working elevators. While tech gets laid off, these guys just keep cash and checks. The jobs society looks down on, those pay the bank if you stick with them. The quote-unquote sexy jobs everyone wants, journalism, teaching, entry-level, corporate, those pay crap because too many people want them. Most will train you and pay for certifications. No college debt, just show up ready to work. Bottom line, if you can handle getting dirty and working odd hours, there's a whole world of six-figure jobs people ignore while chasing Instagram-worthy careers that barely pay rent. Story 7. Insurance adjuster, estimator. I work on the auto side, but most companies have house adjusters as well, or they sublet it out to independents. And just like every job, the company you work for and their policies differ. I worked for a very well-known carrier and made close to $100K fully work from home. That particular company culture was horrible, so I took a pay cut and went back out into the field. The base salary now is $80K, and the benefits are amazing. I got a company car, company pays for gas, even with personal use, pension, 401K match, health insurance is affordable and great coverage, and a monthly stipend for internet. Technically, I only clock 7.5 hours a day. Typically, I drive around and see 3 cars in the morning. I'm usually back home before noon and do about an hour or so of admin work. I set my own schedule on a daily basis and often don't even leave my house at least one day a week. Some people sign up for the catastrophe team, hurricanes, flood, hail, etc., and make well over $100K. The downside is you travel 3/4 of the year and I have young kids. Story 8. I'm going to tell you a dirty secret. It's going into specialized sales. I'm a network and cybersecurity engineer by trade, working in post-sales, aka support. I would be making $80,000 to $100,000 or so, maybe a bit more or less depending on the company. I'd be under stress, always having a fire to put out, endless tickets coming in, possibility that I'd be on call 24/7, and everyone blames you when something doesn't work. Now, I use the same knowledge and skills but have none of the BS. Instead, I use my knowledge to sell people the things they need. It's all just troubleshooting and problem solving in the end. Now, I listen to a client's problems and tell them what to buy. I enable the salespeople to sell crap. And I make 2.5 times what I would make post-sales. I spend my week sitting in my garments on conference calls, listening to, well, we would like to do blank in the next 6 months. And then I basically tell them what to buy. About twice a week, I meet clients for lunch. I call it the kitchen sandwich tour because every crappy corporate lunch restaurant has a chicken sandwich and it's usually decent. You learn quickly that you're gambling when ordering the tuna poke bowl or Asian glazed salmon, and you simply can't be eating gourmet burgers and fries twice a week in your 40s. Everyone loves me because I give them good sound advice. I help them find fixes to new problems they're having as opposed to solving problems they have with existing products that are supposed to work. There's a huge difference here. Everyone wants to talk to you, and they're always so happy to do so. I go to trade shows and I'm given bags of swag, most of which gets given to friends and whomever wants it. I have drawers of free shirts and I've given away no less than 50 branded water bottles to people. It's freaking sickening. I'm getting paid what I should get, but the people who work harder than me get it all. They're the real heroes, but we live in a capitalistic society and the love is always given to sales, not anything beyond that. Story 9. Real estate agent for a builder. It's like being a realtor without looking for the business. You get to have a say in what the entire neighborhood looks like, deciding what house goes on what lot, colors, options, etc. Get to watch families buy their first home and grow. But it's harder than we get credit for. Is it really difficult? No, but it's a lot of acrobatics at times. The last 3 years, with the exception of this year, my wife and I cleared $400,000 to $550,000. This year kind of sucked, but we still are on track for $250,000. I'm tracking $110K. The biggest thing is it easily gets to your head that you're the best and the money is endless. You aren't and it isn't. I have to say for the rainy days because they do come and it's when you least expect it. I know too many people with $1,600 car payments and expensive lifestyles they can't let go of, and years like this are kicking them in the bum. I tell friends who aren't in the industry and I feel like I'm trying to sell them religion or join an MLM when reality is, I see people smarter than me that work harder who make way less and I wish they'd hear me out on it. Story 10. Not nursing, lol. I've been an RN and I make 6 figures working 3 days a week, but we are still vastly underpaid for what we do and the stress and responsibility we incur. Also, underpaid careers. I know that's not the post, but just trying to steer people away that are motivated monetarily. Physicians and teachers, doctors have way too much responsibility for the decisions they make each day, and most are drowning in debt until they can develop a private practice. Most I know don't actually begin a net positive income to debt equity ratio until well into their 50s. And let's be honest, teachers should be the highest paid job there is, and they just aren't compensated justly for all they do and the magnitude and importance of their work. If you know a teacher, you know they're doing it because they're passionate about their work and love what they do. I wish we'd compensate them accordingly. Story 11. I feel like a lot of these are hard labor, high-risk, specialized trades. If you don't want all that, but you still want good pay, project management is so nice. Currently making $72,000 per year with incredible flexibility and no physical workload. I cannot stress enough that project management has incredible flexibility. It's work from home, and the mentality is that you attend or host your meetings and get the work done, but there is no strictly held schedule otherwise. I work as an IT project manager for a global corporation, and my pay is as an external contractor. The internal employees within the PMO make even more and have better benefits. No degree required. Certifications can increase your hireability, but are also not required. Story 12. Kind of a stretch because it can be notoriously inconsistent, but social media is a designated niche. Obviously, this is more known, but people think of the generic social media influence and don't realize just how many niches there are, the unique ways to monetize. I've worked in the social impact space, more specifically environmental education, and once people have audiences for their work, I've seen them clear $5,000 for a single post or speaking engagement, and I'd say in general that's the low end of influencer marketing. People think impact work has to be for dirt pay, but I've seen young people create really unique business models, and it's mostly oriented around social media strategy. Story 13. Hospital monitor tech. It's not crazy money, but it is $50,000 to $75,000 a year to sit in a room doing nothing but staring at monitors all day. You need no actual medical training or experience beyond basic resuscitation and CPR certifications, and you don't have to do any actual medical work. If something happens to one of the patients, you hit the call doctor button and then stand back and let the doctors do their jobs. It's the easiest and most low-effort job for that salary most likely, and they're always understaffed because no one realizes that's a thing or that it pays decently. Story 14. I'm a high school custodian. I make $29 an hour. Great pension, benefits, vacation days, sick days, personal days, weekends and holidays off, 2 weeks paid off at Christmas time. I won't become a millionaire, but I live comfortably. The really great thing about this job is how easy and stress-free it is. I clean my area of the school alone. It's very quiet at night. I listen to podcasts, finish my cleaning in 4 hours, and chill and watch TikToks for the remaining 4 hours. When I leave the parking lot, I don't think of work at all. It's really great, and the atmosphere also is really positive. I love seeing all the students' artworks and learning stuff. Story 15. Mechanic. I was making six figures in my early 20s and the early 2000s. Some techs make $200,000 or more. The key is to be very good at diagnosing issues, especially electrical issues. In flat rate, you are paid based on what the job's average time to complete takes. If you are good, you can be faster than the book time and get paid for more jobs in the same amount of time. For an extreme real-life example of a job I used to commonly perform, the job pays about 8 hours to remove an engine to replace, reseal an oil pan. I found a way to do the same job without removing the engine. Under warranty, the job pays me the 8 hours, but I could perform the job in about 30 minutes and let the car sit for a few hours to dry while I worked on another job. I would typically flag 75 to 110 hours in a 5-day week, but only actually work 40 to 50 hours. Story 16. The best money is always made in the shadows. The jobs no one brags about at dinner parties because there's no poetry in them. Funeral directors counting grief by the hour. Long-haul truckers who know the country better than the politicians who get it. Plumbers, God bless them, who see more of human failure than any priest ever will and bill you triple for the privilege. You want obscene pay? Don't look at the glamorous professions, look at the quiet hustlers who know how indispensable they are. Waste management, repossession, elevator repair, jobs where society can't function without you but no one wants to think about you while they sip cocktails. And that's the trick, the real wealth hides in the unmentionables, the capillaries of civilization where shame, necessity, and cash all meet. It's not sexy, but it buys a house faster than another MBA. Story 17. Truck driving. Back when I was over the road, I didn't have a high school diploma and was making over $200,000 a year. And some people make even more. You just have to be willing to stay out for long periods of time. In total, I maybe took off around 2 months at a time, a year. I did that for about 5 years till I met my now wife. I had a baby and got a more stable job so I could be home every day. Got my GED and started working up the ladder at this facility. Currently making $90,000 a year, full benefits, work 4 days a week. Get treated like royalty because good truck drivers are hard to find. We're still short on drivers. I'm always covering shifts and getting that sweet time and a half of overtime. Story 18. It may be more relevant in Australia, but just about any role in higher education or university comes with higher than average pay, the highest retirement pay rates in the nation, superannuation, and insanely good benefits. Obviously, professors and deans get paid much more, but there are lots of entry-level positions starting at $75,000 AUD, $50,000 USD, and you get the same benefits. With a bachelor's degree in a few years, you can be earning well over $100,000 AUD annually. Most public universities will have enterprise bargaining agreements, which guarantee pay raises for all employees every 6 to 12 months for a few years. These agreements also mean pay rates are very clear-cut, transparent, and similar across the sector. 17% on top of your salary goes to your mandatory retirement fund, works similar to a 401k. The federal minimum is 12%, and this only started increasing from 9.5% in 2021. Up to 6 weeks paid vacation leave. The national minimum is 4 weeks. We get paid leave over Christmas holidays closure too. 1 week paid carer's leave on top of 10 days paid sick leave. Carer's leave is not just for parents with 6 kids, but anyone in your household or a close family member. Very generous paid parental leave up to 12 months after birth. Dedicated leave for gender reassignment surgery or hormone therapy. Study support through either the university paying for your tuition or providing paid leave for you to do a few hours of study each week and or to attend a mandatory work placement. I got 3 hours a week for 2 years and 2 weeks paid leave to do an internship at the end of my bachelor's. So many other supports and paid leave for things like domestic violence, natural disasters, family emergencies, counseling, cheap gym memberships, etc. Usually good flexibility to work from home at least 2 to 3 days a week. It's usually easy to move to another department you have more interest in once you gain experience, or you can do 6 to 12 months secondments to get experience in a new area or role without fear of losing your regular permanent job. It can be competitive to get your foot in the door, but once you're in, there's a wealth of opportunities. Look for roles in administrative, call center, student support and course advice, library, finance and payment processing, facilities maintenance, or IT support. Story 19. If you can board dogs overnight in your home, walk large packs of dogs on a leash at the same time, and develop a large client list, you can earn an absolutely shocking amount of money. If you have one daily pack, walk 10 to 12 dogs on leash, which would include your overnighters, pick everybody up in a van and drop them off after the walk, you can charge $50 or more per dog per walk. The walk is an hour and a half. Pick up and drop off time adds 3.5 to 4 hours. You can work 6 days a week, roughly 35 hours per week total, minus all the care you provide the dogs boarded overnight in your home. An average $500 daily easily. In fact, you can make a lot more in well-to-do areas. Gotta work Saturdays though. Takes time to gain momentum acquiring clients, and turning down bookings with good clients is a big no-no, so finding free time can be difficult. Oh, and one other thing, you have to be an accomplished dog trainer to pull this off. Does require years of experience. Story 20. The film, TV, video industry's grips. They're responsible for a number of things, but primarily rigging the cameras to vary structures and shaping lighting fixtures with different textiles and colored gels and diffusers. The lowest paid position within the grip department can make roughly $600, $750 per 10-hour day here in the US, and doesn't require any kind of formal education or certifications to get started. In general, you get paid for the full 10 hours even if the day ends up being significantly shorter. On top of that, the entire industry operates according to California's laws about overtime, even when productions are happening in other states. So basically, you accrue overtime every hour over 8 within a single workday, instead of having to work greater than 40 hours within 1 week, which is great when you get booked on short-term 1 to 4 day jobs. Story 21. A school bus driver trainer was a surprise. I took the job when going to college. After graduation with seniority raises, I was making more money than my chosen career as a teacher. Being a city employee, the benefits were good too. The district rented the buses out and the driver was paid by seniority. I love getting paid time and a half to drive a group into a Chicago Cubs or White Sox game. My wife got a job with the county health department as a CNA doing home health care. The mileage for a government worker was high, and she picked her route to maximize that tax-free revenue. She always went to the office first, so her drive to the first client was reimbursed. The turnover was high, and with seniority and merit raises in 5 years, she was making more than a starting RN. And if you're enjoying the video too, learning a thing or two, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button for more videos just like this. Story 22. It's not extremely good pay, but cops start at $52,000 out of the academy in my city. And if the city has a good union, you can retire after 20 years with a nice pension. My uncle retired from a small city police force in New York after he did his 20. His pension was based on 45% of his pay for the rest of his life, plus he had an IRA that he contributed to separately. That 40% though was calculated on your 3 highest years of pay. So toward the end, he pulled as much overtime as possible to get his numbers up. It's a hard job mentally and emotionally, but not as dangerous as TV would have you believe. He said he pulled his gun out less than 10 times in his career and never fired it. What really wore him down was how no one is ever happy to see you. Just saying a friendly hello to people will get you, "What? I'm not doing nothing." The job wasn't a great fit for him in a lot of ways because he was too nice. He was very friendly and extroverted. He actually enjoyed trying to help people, but often people automatically hated him because of their or their friends' past experiences. They have a high depression rate as a profession. Story 23. Process technician, nuclear, chemical plant, or refinery operator. Homer Simpson from The Simpsons is a board operator at a nuke plant. Refinery operators in my area make $55 an hour. 12-hour EO shift work 4 to 4, set of days and nights each week, time and a half after 8 hours on scheduled days. Normal schedule, 14 days a month, time and a half on overtime days. Double time on the 7th day in a row work. Night differential pay, 350 to 1,000 hours of overtime a year. 12% yearly bonus on gross pay, 7% match on 401k and a pension. $400 a month medical and dental for the family. $160K to $200K a year on average. Requires a 2-year process tech degree from a vocational school. It takes 2 years to reach top pay. Starting pay, $35. Story 24. This is going to vary from franchise to franchise, but general managers at Pizza Hut, my old boss was close to 6 figures with his profit sharing. Make it to the district manager and it's even more. The work sucks and schedules blow and there is a lot of crap that makes it not desirable, but it's hard to find a job that'll pay you that much with only needing a high school diploma and some experience in the business. Like I said, the biggest issue is the job sucks, and if you find a good spot, good luck getting the job because those spots will be locked in. Which is one of the reasons why I left. I knew I could be there for 10 years and I'd never get the job. Story 25. Information technology IT jobs, specifically help desk type roles that can give a pathway to higher end careers. In 2015, I was making $15 per hour at a school district help desk for employees and teachers. In 2017, I got a new job at a hotel property making $31 per hour. It was still a help desk role, but for employees and guests. In 2019, I got a job at a Fortune 1000 company making around $36 per hour, but I'm at $47 per hour right now. It is still a help desk role, but it's more technically advanced, closer to system administrator work. There are overtime opportunities too, but I try not to work more than I need to. So in 10 years, I went from approximately $31,000 annually to approximately $98,000 annually with just a high school diploma, no college, no certifications, and a few job hops. If I stayed at the school district, still friends with the help desk staff there, I'd be making low 30s from what my friends reported from what they're making. Story 26. Steel mill machine operators. It may not be breaking $100,000 a year for me, but I'll be over $80,000 this year, and I haven't worked a single minute of OT other than what is built into my schedule. I work on a machine called a bar peeler, and the majority of running it is automated. We have to load and unload it, manually change tooling, and clean out chips by hand. But otherwise, we just stare at it and sit for the majority of the time while the piece is being peeled. We also have 2 saws in our work center, but typically we run just one. Again, there's a lot of ass time associated with the saws as well. There are 2 of us that work together each shift. One of us will run the peeler for 2 days, the other the saws for 2 days, and then we switch. The work can be hard. Other times it's pretty easy and smooth sailing. The joke around here is that all you have to do is show up and get paid. The biggest draw to this job is we only work 4 days at a time. 1 week we'll work 4 12-hour days, then we get 4 days off. The next week we work 4 12-hour nights, followed by another 4 off. We basically only work 6 months out of the year, make a decent wage, base rate plus additional for working a rotating schedule, profit sharing bonuses when things are good, 401k match plus an additional percentage deposited into our 401k based on what we contributed the previous quarter. Story 27. I'm a carpenter and do all sorts of work, mainly do new builds, but on the side I do smaller jobs for myself or recommendations. Just finished a garage remodel, a small 24 by 20 that took me about 40 man hours personally. Worked like 8 hours a few days and then between 3 to 6 most, and then another 35 in wages to the labor that helped me. I made around 7K. Right now I'm doing some home remodeling and maintenance and making $45 an hour along with $100 windows to trim out in PVC. Should only take an hour per window. Story 28. Bus driving in central London. Brother has been doing it for 8 years. Their union at their garage has recently had pay talks and will more than likely negotiate £21.30 per hour for 38 minimum weekly hours. But typically they do about 48 hours per week. I asked him how much his takeout pay was at the end of every week because they do get paid weekly, and he told me on average about £700. I was like, what? $700 per week? An overtime day means he would earn £25 per hour. Just an example of a pretty basic job which can bring in 2.8K per month. His wife is also a driver at the same garage, so roughly 5.5K as a family. That's brilliant. Story 29. Onboard IT system specialist for oil exploration vessels. It's glorified IT help desk. 6 months on the boat, then you drop off at the next port and you're on holiday for 6 months, then they fly you out to the next port to board the boat. Not always the same boat for another 6 months. Fresh out of Bachelor of Information Technology course with a starting salary of $190,000. What is the work like? Well, the 12-hour day is spent mostly doing nothing but watching dashboards and running systems checklists. Most things are just turn it off and on again by following the predefined processes. Story 30. I work in a college environment helping people find career paths. I try to highlight 2 things to keep in mind. Jobs that pay well usually pay well for a reason. First, find that out, then make sure you're good with the why. Jobs that pay well are almost always jobs that people typically don't want to do or jobs that people typically can't do. Plumbing is a great example. I am a tradesperson with 2 trades, and I can fairly confidently say that most people can be plumbers. It's not a hard trade. That's not a shot at plumbers. It's just not a hard trade, usually. But it fits very well into the category as something that people don't want to do, so they pay well for someone else to do it. The trades often pay well for this. 2 that fit both categories are commercial refrigeration, often called commercial HVAC, and elevator and lift mechanics. Both pay exceptionally well, but are quite mentally challenging and unpleasant at times. If you're mathematically inclined, becoming an actuary for a pension fund or an insurance company is fantastically lucrative. Story 31. Serving and bartending. It's a certain kind of person required to do it, i.e., keep a good face and not let things bother you. I cannot do it to save my life. But the average pay in my area is $6 an hour plus $15 to $30 an hour in tips, $15 on a slow day. Most the place I manage has seen was an average $70 an hour. This is a small town restaurant and bar, so bigger towns and places mean a lot higher income. Conversely, the least paid are cooks. They receive no tips usually and make $10 to $18 an hour. I, for instance, as a kitchen manager, get $16 an hour. Story 32. Dealing with human waste has to be the most lucrative business in the world. I just spent an afternoon with a guy who hauls waste for a living, emptying porta potties on a large scale, and that dude is incredibly wealthy. And he's just an employee who got some ownership stake in the company by getting in early. The actual owner is living like a oil baron chic in the Middle East. I won't even get into how I met this dude, but it was a setting where exotic things are exchanged, and this guy was a player even though he looked like a cracked out Kid Rock. Waste is where it's at, y'all. Story 33. 100% commission plumber. Sure, there are plumbers that can make bank in a metropolitan area, but even in middle-sized cities or suburbia, a 100% commission service plumber can make upwards of $200,000 a year if they are fast, honest, and are diligent. The way you do it is you take 50% more time investigating plumbing issues that other plumbers won't bother to handle. One time I investigated an issue for drainage that multiple plumbers had simply snaked and left. On commission, that would have made me about $70. Instead, I snaked it and then went into the crawl space to investigate. I found dozens of feet of back-graded cast iron and a ton of 70-year-old 2-inch galvanized pipe. By the time I left, the customers had signed an estimate for $13,000 to completely repipe the crawl space drainage and new toilet flanges. Normally, that job would have taken 5 days, but I said 4 to 5 and got it done in 4 days. That meant I was getting paid around $90 an hour for those 4 days. That's $187,000 a year. And I haven't even been in this trade for a super long time. That's because for 4 days, I wasn't driving half the day to different job sites, and I appropriately priced my work because the crawl space entrance was at least 40 feet from where the work was taking place. On commission, if you do the best work, charge the highest rate for the best work, and you maximize volume by investigating, your drive time will go down and you will make bank. Now, if you run your own truck as a one-man show plumber or even as a plumber whose wife does the office work, that's $300,000 a year instead because you get to keep the full value of your labor. Story 34. Insurance agent, not even owning an agency, just working as an account manager or another similar role. Easy job to get into. You can self-study and obtain your property and casualty license and or life and health. Depending where you are, you can easily make about $50,000 to start while doing just personal lines. Learn commercial lines and handle larger accounts, and you can make up to $75,000 or more. On top of that, agencies are dying to hire people. You can work almost anywhere in the country. You can move if you want, or in a lot of cases, work remote after you are experienced. Story 35. Ultrasound tech. If you specialize in heart or vascular ultrasound, you can start out making $80,000 a year on the lower end of the pay scale. Most programs are also only 2 years, and these are in-demand jobs. Hospital contracts are usually around 2 to 3 years with sign-on bonuses for $8,000 to $10,000, and moving and living stipends if you have to relocate. These can be pretty fast-paced jobs if you're working in a large trauma hospital, or it can be more relaxed in smaller, more rural areas. Story 36. I'm an instructional designer for military training. It requires an education degree with no need for state licensure. Been doing it for 10 years, so doing pretty well, having moved up a bit in responsibility in that time. But in general, the pay and benefits are well above what most public school systems offer. It's the best kept secret in the education field, in my opinion. Of course, there aren't as many positions. They prefer to hire military veterans, and you have to be willing to live where the training is. Not rich, but comfortably middle class. Story 37. Handyman, repairman, general home maintenance. I work for myself, window washing, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, and roof cleaning / moss removal. It's hard work, but don't get me wrong, it involves lots of ladder work, walking on roofs, getting absolutely filthy, especially doing gutters or moss removal, and also just having the personality to deal with people, talk to them respectfully, troubleshoot issues, educate them on chemicals and processes, etc. I've been doing it for 7 years now for myself and have only had 1 year where I didn't gross 6 figures. I live in a rural area that isn't exactly super rich by any means. If I lived in a bigger town or city and had employees, the sky would be the limit. The first window pressure washing company I worked for when I lived in a huge city was clearing over $7 million per year. Last I checked, they're also into high-rise cleaning and a bunch of commercial work. Story 38. I worked for a mainframe software vendor for 7 or 8 years. It was a smaller company that had about 3 main offices, and where I work happened to be the corporate headquarters. So you had software developers and tech support people rubbing elbows with salespeople and corporate officers. This is where I learned how much money these salespeople make. The only people that made more money than the salespeople were the CEO and the chairman of the board. Those sales guys and gals had skills, obviously, but they didn't really know anything about software. They always took tech people with them on sales calls, but the commissions were eye-popping. My point is that every company needs salespeople, and salespeople can make way more money than you'd expect. And they were just average people too, not even all that bright, but they did work hard. Story 39. I've worked with people, both as a teacher of English, a part theme guy in group homes, a full-time live-in position as a therapist at a group home, and a teacher of high-functioning, emotionally disturbed kids, retired at 64. Went back to work as a home therapist with kids having mental health concerns, behavioral therapist. Most of my work was teaching parents. Finally retired at 76 years of age. Didn't make a lot of money, did okay. My wife was also a teacher. We have 2 amazing kids and 2 grandchildren. The rewards in helping those needing help was more important to me than wealth. Story 40. Milkman. It's hard work, 9 to 10 hour nights, crazy temperatures, can put a strain on the body, running around, lifting heavy crates filled with glass bottles. But most companies, like mine, are commission-based, so each item and product has its own value on top of an hourly rate. Been at it for 5 years, take home $5K a month. And the tips around the holidays, more than a month's salary some years. That doesn't even include excellent health insurance, great PTO, and sick time. I can take almost 3 to 4 weeks off a year if I wanted to. Again, hard work. Most people don't know we still exist, but it's the best dang job I have ever had. Story 41. Irrigation. It's extremely niche. You can get in without college or certs. Once you learn the field, the possibilities are endless. You can work in agriculture, residential, and commercial. Everything that grows requires water. Learn how to apply that water, and you'll never be without a paycheck. The skills needed include basic hydraulics, basic electricity, geometry, underground plumbing, customer service, and PHC, plant healthcare. Irrigation is extremely hard to learn and profoundly rewarding once mastered. Story 42. Mechanics of any kind. Dealerships, flat rate. Meaning, say you get $30 per labor hour billed. If you can do the job right in 25 minutes for a job that bills 1 hour of labor, you can do that job twice and make $60 an hour. The problem with that is when you get nailed to the wall with work that doesn't pay very well and you can't make good time on it. Flat rate is a demon that some people can bring home 6 figures by the halfway mark of the year, and others are lucky to hit 50K. Heavy-duty mechanics, think tractor trailers, industrial equipment, etc. These positions are typically hourly and usually offer bonus pay for certifications. I top out at $50 an hour in Indiana. Aircraft mechanics, the jobs advertise the regular hourly rate, not the certification rate. So you'll see a job that says $35 an hour for an aircraft maintenance position, but they are required to have power plant and airframe licenses, and the company usually has to pay for that as well. True hourly pay is like $60 to $70 an hour or more when you factor those in. All of these positions are eligible for overtime too, except flat rate. Mechanic work is awesome. I love doing hands-on work, love solving problems, and the skill is easily applied to other things not at work, like your own car. Hate those pesky repair bills from the auto shop? Do it yourself. You already have the tools and can probably do it in less time, unless it needs shop-specific equipment. Huge expenses suddenly become inconveniences instead of a hole in your bank account. Story 43. Being a tattoo artist seems pretty great. If you're good, you can guest at different studios in different countries if you like to travel, or you can make your own hours and be super selective about the kind of work you choose to do. Downsides are obviously no shows to appointments and potentially no health insurance or benefits. Also, like any other contracting type gig versus salaried, if you can't work, you can't get paid, so getting sick or injured might put one in a bad spot quickly. And like kind of high stakes daily, you definitely can't sneeze accidentally. Story 44. Smart repair technician. Repairing scuffed bumpers and alloy wheels, most of which are through insurance anyway. With a new car, you get insurance just for this. If you're efficient and experienced, you can earn $250 for roughly 2 hours. Ideally on a hot day so everything dries quicker. Even better if you have your own unit and can do things in a workshop. I used to have a mobile van unit and could work at a dealership. I'd only charge around $120 per bumper and could sometimes do 4 in 2 hours, as I could park all of them extremely close to my van. It was the same with wheels. Once you know what you're doing, and if using the right combo of tools and time-saving techniques, you can get an amazing result and charge $60 per wheel. It generally only takes 15 minutes for one wheel. The only downside is the cost of all the equipment and training and experience. Story 45. Welder. Depending on what you get into and if you are willing to travel, 6 weeks of schooling. I got paid $16 an hour by the company to learn. The first year was spent as an apprentice doing a heck of a lot of grunt work, grinding, fitting, cleaning, cutting, being the go-for kind of work. but I made $22.50 an hour. I passed the certification for the union, got my card, and started doing mobile boiler repair work. I was up to $28 an hour plus per diem. After like 3 years, I moved on to structural welding, making $33 an hour plus per diem. Then I went on to pipe welding for $125 an hour plus per diem on oil pipelines out of the country for a bit. You need to be willing to travel and have zero commitments at home because you'll never be there, but you can make very good money doing it. Story 46. Teaching is poorly paid, but tutoring can make a lot. I work in a special school, and I've had several coworkers over the years that pick up a side gig of tutoring or support work, basically doing the same stuff they do in the school, but just one-on-one, and they end up quitting their school job to do their side job full-time. Right before COVID shut everything down, I signed on to a tutoring group and was told I'd be in high demand, as I was willing to work with high schoolers, while most of their tutors only wanted to work with young kids. It would make something like 70 AUD per hour. Can't remember the exact amount. It was like $45 to $50 USD. Of course, literally 2 weeks after I signed on and I was waiting for my certifications to clear, it was shut down due to COVID and never reopened. Story 47. Okay, I have one you will actually like. Bike mechanics at the entry level get paid only okay, but if you get yourself into the high-end market and learn how to fix any issue yourself, you can make a lot of money, especially if you run your own business. My boyfriend is a high-end mountain bike mechanic running his own business, sole trader, and earns around $120,000 a year. With all the tax advantages of your own business, he takes home more than I do as a full-time employee on $134,000. And he is barely into his first year of running his business in the middle of a massive economic downturn in the bike industry in our country, so it's only up from here. In a good week, he makes $5,000, but right now, as he's growing, that happens once a month or so. Where we live, wages are not great and the economy is not great. I know in Australia, he'd be earning far more, and likely in most European countries, the USA and Canada. Story 48. None of these trades pay well, not in a red state or with no decent union presence. I've never seen a job ad for any trade anywhere in NC that offered more than $33 an hour, regardless of credentials, and that happened to be for a unionized tobacco company. When they hire, it's usually once every couple of years, and they'll have applicants lined down the street. If you want to make anything decent around here, you need to own the business, but that's an entirely different profession, basically 2 jobs, business owner and tradesman, and lawyer, accountant, HR executive, and advertising agent. Anything in medical or financial services is the best bet. And if any of these stories got to you too, here's more for you. YouTube thinks you're going to love this. I'll catch you in that video.